Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In this interview, I get to speak with my friend Reinis, who is an email marketing wizard. And we talk a lot about his journey to 80 million plus in email sales, the agencies he's acquiring, kind of the business that he's building. And we also talked about a lot of deeper e-commerce insights from what he gets to see across the board, what it means to be a brand, and a whole lot more. So make sure that you stay till the end. We did film this within the Ecommerce community on Discord. You can sign up to the launch of our platform in the description, or if you're watching this a long time from now, then the platform's already launched and you can just join. But without further ado, here's the interview with Reinis. Welcome, Reinis. I'm super hyped that you were able to do this, man. Really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, we got the community in here and I'm going to be posting the recording too. So can you give me a brief summary or introduction rather of yourself?
Yes, so my name's Reinis. For the past 5 years, I've been doing email marketing. We've dabbled a little bit around with Meta ads as well. We invested in a Facebook ads agency. We have our own e-commerce ventures off the ground as well. And we've generated with emails around 60, 70, or 80 million sales. Right now, this number has gotten so cloudy that's in a range. It's not like a concrete number anymore. And on the Facebook ads side, we spend, I believe, 3 to 5 million a month right now for a couple of clients
Crazy.
that we manage on Meta. Yeah.
Amazing. And you are focused on a variety of markets like EU, US, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I would say we have a pretty even split between US and EU. I would say we probably have more business owners from Europe, but a lot of them sell to the US market. So we dabble around in both of the continents, and that allows us to just get a lot of experience, see what works for a large number of accounts, because the way that people in Europe were running stores would be completely the opposite of what Americans were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you could combine both their strategies and really grow, because there's things to learn from the American market and the European market. You have different kind of authority figures in Europe than you do in the US, so some of their teachings are different. For example, the Netherlands, when they started dropshipping, everyone in Europe, they would just do general stores. This is, by the way, like 2020, 2021. Everyone would do general stores with a bunch of products that in the US you would do in 2017, something like that. Right now, people switch to niche stores and branded stores. Right now, we're seeing more of that trend into Europe happen in Europe as well. But that didn't happen because just dropshipping died out. It happened because in Europe, there would be a lot of communities, for example, in the Netherlands, that would be anti-dropshipping. They would have these groups that are called Stop Dropshipping. If they see a dropship ad, they post the link there and people just go and spam negative comments under the ads.
Wow.
And this happened because there would be a lot of no shippers in the Netherlands, some of which moved to Dubai to prevent themselves from being prosecuted, which is wild. But it's interesting how the markets were different and why they were different as well.
That's super wild and super interesting, man. Yeah, I definitely want to dive deeper into some of those things and some of those experiences that you have. Let me ask you this. Do you have a decent amount of clients through your agencies that are branded dropshipping clients, or are they mostly brands?
So back in 2021, we moved away from dropshipping towards brands. Right now, I actually have a counter question to you, Ari. What does a brand mean to you?
That's a good question, man. To me, a brand means, just a store that is centered around a specific idea and maybe even community or problem, that you're solving. So that's why, to me, just because a brand is drop shipping doesn't mean, or just because a store is drop shipping doesn't mean they're not a brand. Um, and that's what in this community we try to emphasize a lot. It's like, yeah, drop ship all you want, but build a brand, like try to build a brand.
Right.
So that's why I ask, because I'm trying to sort of demystify this idea. Like,
just sort of like you mentioned, some people are like anti drop shipping, but and I get that, but it's like, if it's a brand and who cares and it's a good product, then why does it matter? Like if they're drop shipping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I asked you this question because this is something I got from a couple of events I went to. Whenever you ask someone what's a brand, you get a variety of different answers. Some people say that like if I have like my logo on a product, that's a brand. Some people say that you need to have inventory. So I wouldn't say in the industry there's a clear definition of a brand is. From my understanding, I would attach brand to the goodwill the customer has of the company. Like if you have Apple, you don't care what product they sell. You don't even need to look at the specs. You just know it's good, and that just comes from the goodwill and the good reputation of that company prior to that. Dropshipping by itself, it's just a shipping model, right? You could have a logo slapped on your product. This can be like a product that a variety of people are selling. You could have a patent for that product. Those things, I believe, they help build a brand better, so you are more unique. But those are not necessarily things that separate you from like being labeled a dropshipper or a brand. I think really like branding is the goodwill the customers have behind your product. With this definition and
Awesome.
with how I see branding, to answer your question, I would say right now we have more of the people who are brand dead. I wouldn't say all of them are brands, but yeah, some of them again, they were dropshipping. Some of them developed custom products, and it's also interesting to see how people go from dropshipping to actually branding a product. And there's two kind of ways I've seen people go that route. One way is just stop dropshipping at all, develop your own product, ship it to a warehouse, start selling it. The other option is take a product that already works, slap a logo on it, improve the shipping speeds, improve the product quality, work with higher quality manufacturers, add more products to the site, and let it rip. Both options have been successful. The first option, though, I think it can be very challenging for people who are just quick to like, who are used to just launching a product, and day three, they're at like 5K a day. So like then going like 9 months with no revenue, no profit, and when you launch ads, they don't work, and you need to just keep on working the angles because let's say you have 10,000 units of a product, in a warehouse somewhere that you have to pay, every single month for if it's not like doesn't matter whether it's shipped or not. Um, so yeah, I mean that's another thing too.
That's so interesting, bro. I think that's such a good point. What I see so far, like the people that can make those kinds of like, okay, let's order 10,000 units, like just let her rip from the beginning, that actually can succeed really well, is the people that have access to like creator networks. Because just running that based on ads, like meta ads, is so risky in my opinion. Like you might have to burn through so much cash testing ads.
Yes,
But if you get
yes.
creators, like if you already have an ambassador community, let's say, like then the risk is so much lower because people trust other people talking about a product. So in that case, it could be worth it to just brand all the way from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Right now with TikTok, I think that works very well. Like Kanpai Foods, when they
Mm.
launch in 8 months, they reach 1 million, and I think right now in February they've done 1 million in sales. So they just sell like candy, and they're in major retailers in the U.S. as well. It's a guy that built Mini Katana who launched this candy brand. On the contrary, we have a client in Europe who spent 9 months developing a product, launched it, and only I think after 5 months after that, so that's like what 14 months they were until they were profitable. This was before TikTok was like actually sustainable. They launched in 2020. Um, yeah, they launched in 2020. So like back then, I believe like TikTok ads basically just got off the ground. You could just get access to ads if like they gave you access for it. Like you just couldn't create an ad account manager back then, and I don't think you could even run them in Europe back then. I think it was US only. Um, so yeah, I mean, right now I do believe it's easier to start with a creator network as well. I definitely agree with you. And at the
Cool.
end of the day, it fuels like your fuels what you do with media. One of our clients, Evil Goods,
Oh,
they
you work with
crush
Evil
it with
Goods.
TikTok Shop. Yeah, yeah, we work with
Very
Evil Goods.
nice.
Yeah, they. crush it with TikTok Shop and Amazon and that organic side. Um, I think they would crush it with media buying too, but it's that if you're able to make a creator network work, you're gonna be extremely cash flow positive and cash flow rich because you don't need to spend like 30 to 50% of your sell price on ads to get a purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's huge. So let me ask you this then. I want to figure out a little bit of your origin story when it comes to email marketing specifically, because it's like kind of an unsexy topic, but it's sort of
Yeah.
where I see like the riches really being made in a lot of ways. So I'm curious, what got you started in email marketing?
So back in when I was 13, I tried to make money any way I could. I went way, way back. But the idea back then was I started in fitness. Through fitness, I discovered marketing. I discovered social media marketing, and I tried to get, clients in my country for social media marketing and paid ads. The issue is if you start a business, and you have no testimonials, no case studies, no references as like a 16, 17-year-old, no one wants to work with you. It was very challenging to get clients in my country. By the way, for reference, average salary is like 1.2, like 1.3K USD, roughly. So like if you were to work with someone in social media marketing, they would want to pay you like $300 max,
Oh,
roughly.
you're from Latvia, right?
Um,
Just for
yes, I'm
context.
from
Yeah.
Latvia. Yeah, yeah. And what I ended up doing, I did switch between a variety of services I offered. It was social media marketing, funnel building, Facebook ads, and chatbots. Via chatbots and just in general networking, I found a couple of guys in the US. There was a company called Motivated.fit. You've probably seen their ads. Like if I showed you, you probably would have seen their ads. It's a guy who is a celebrity trainer, and they created a program to help you lose weight and build muscle at home. So end of 2020, we started working with them. It took us like probably 4 months to close them because initially I had worked with one of their friends um, out of LA, and we built a chatbot for them. They asked me for help for email marketing. As you know, they asked me for help. I had learned copywriting through the variety of skills I had previously. I set up their emails. We saw how good and how many sales emails generated, and some of their other friends started asking us to do it for them. So yeah, we helped the company motivate a fit. We got to the point where we actually were starting to build courses with influencers. We had a couple of influencers with like 4.3 million followers, like a painting course that was doing 20K a day, extremely profitable. That we were running via media buying, via the influencers, actual social media
Were
platforms,
they like
and
an art creator, like an artist, or?
yeah, they were a painter, and
Uh,
really the course was for 50 plus elderly women who kind of are at home. Their kids, they probably don't need to drive their kids around anymore, so they're kind of like bored and they want to paint, and it's something that relaxes them. It was
wow.
an extremely profitable venture, very, 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 very nice. Like really, there were two main courses that made money. Other courses did well off launch, but afterwards we couldn't make them like really profitable and scalable on social media, partly because working with influencers is a huge pain in the ass. I'll tell you that. Especially like larger ones, because then egos come into play.
Mm.
Sometimes, like if you can't talk to the influencer, you talk to the manager. Sometimes the managers are very unprofessional. We were working with a beat maker. I don't recall their name at the moment, but they're not like Metro Beats level, but close to it, like a
Yeah.
level under Metro Beats. And it seemed like when we were talking to them and their manager, it looked like their manager was like a buddy of theirs who just trying to handle business, and it wouldn't be done too professionally. We couldn't really request anything from them. And if you're trying to build a course that kind of hooks onto the name of another person, it's difficult to do so unless you're able to get new creatives from them, so on and so forth.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So that venture did well, but it wasn't super scalable. So parallel to that, me and my business partner Jacob, we started an email marketing agency, and over time we had obviously more equity in the agency than the US business. We had like 20% of phantom equity, so it was really just like a rev share, profit share. Um, and then the agency started growing bigger and bigger. We would have like the difference now was that we had the case studies from the courses we had launched and the other e-commerce stores we had worked with, and really there was a huge demand for email marketing
Mhm.
and the lack of supply. So there weren't many players in the game. We're one of the few. And quickly we started getting a lot of referrals specifically from Europe, and we worked with European brands. And we started off by specifying in creating copy in local languages for Europeans. Now, I would say we mainly work in the English language because it's less complex and just much easier to scale and provide good results for the clients that work with us, uh, just like as a better business model. But then that's how we started off, and that went very well. We worked with a couple of partners of Verem John.
Mm.
We didn't work with Verem John directly. We worked with Verem Richard, Verem Dennis on a couple of stores they were running, and those had an incredible result. That was like some of our like first hits that were stores they were doing not just like around 100K a month, but closer to 1 million a month, and we were able to then again make the switch from like the dropshipping stores to more brands who are more sustainable, have higher revenue, higher profit, and that we can frankly just do a lot more and provide a lot more value through
Mhm.
email marketing.
True.
In recap, that's basically what we did and how we got to where we're at right now.
Wow, that's super cool. I mean, I love the stories like that where you just kind of build up upon your skills and like just kind of these random things. I'm sure you wouldn't have thought that you would have built something like this like when you were first
For
doing
sure.
stuff, you know? That's crazy.
For sure. For sure. Like I
So,
think a big thing that helped me out as well was I was really focused on building skills when I started out. I got a copywriting course from Agora. Funnily enough, the
oh yeah, that's the name of
this,
the
yeah,
setup here.
of the space. Yeah, yeah. So Agora, they do around 300 mil a year. If I'm not no, I think they do a billion a year, maybe. I don't remember by heart. And their financial side, financial kind of daughter company does around 100 million a year, and they have very strong copywriters. They have a very strong copywriting process to teach people how to write. So I took like a course there, learned a lot about copy, and that helped me then to create landing pages that I did, and then to write the emails as well.
Yeah, how I mean, copywriting is huge. Do you what would you say are some like big mistakes that people make when it comes to copywriting, like on their landing page or on their emails, things of that nature, maybe even on their ads?
Number one at the end of the day comes to not understanding your customer, because good copywriting is when you can say what your prospect thinks about but doesn't outright say it. Like you've resonated with a message before, probably of like things that you've thought to yourself, or problems you've thought about yourself, and then you really click with it. um, Really all the mistakes come from lack of customer research.
Mm.
And then number two, I would say lack of a good idea of what a good landing page is. This mistake might come like if you're looking at brands like Allbirds, like these huge D2C companies that are being financed, that are not necessarily trying to be profitable on the first purchase, who maybe have like big brand names behind them. Again, like brand carries a lot of weight. So you can get away with sloppier copy, and at some point your copy doesn't need to be as aggressive because of your brand name. Um, so yeah, I mean, customer research is a mistake, and then a lack of good references too. In the beginning, just a copy from,
Yeah.
just like swipe the ads, swipe the landers.
Interesting. So you'd say it's probably best to copy people that are like maybe a few steps ahead of you as opposed to like, final boss of your industry.
For sure. So we have a client that we scaled from 1 to 5 million a month in sales in Norway. Just one country. By the way, we on like their equivalent of Black Friday, we did more sales than H&M in Norway specifically
Crazy. We have
on that
somebody
day.
from Norway. I think Lars in the chat here is from Norway.
Amazing, amazing. So yeah, for that brand, the reason why I bring it up is because they have like this huge name. Their product, by the way, during COVID and everything, you could see their product being worn in hospitals, on like if you go to random person's home, you could see their product everywhere, everywhere. But if you were to try to, like we did take that company into Denmark, Sweden. Sweden did good. Denmark not so much. But then if we try to go into Germany, you cannot run the same ads. The same ads just don't perform. The same landing page might perform, but I'm mainly looking at ads first. The same ads don't work again because you don't have the brand name, you don't have the goodwill, and you don't have the um, respect of the audience behind that. The same thing we saw again by expanding into Europe with another cosmetics company that is doing around like 1 to 2 million a month, roughly in that range. And when you go into like Germany from Netherlands, the ads you run and what you test is completely different because you have a different awareness stage of the customer in that country. They don't know your brand either. They don't know your product. Maybe the people who are trustworthy in one country are not so trustworthy in others. I would say in the US, that's not so big of an issue, but that's a bigger thing if you're already like, pretty big in the US. Like, for example, I think that was Ridge. They
Mm-hmm.
also talked about that too, how they had to hire a different creative agency for Europe because the creatives would have to be different. Customers resonate with different things. But again, we're looking at a completely different scale. If someone's doing like 1 million a month, you probably wouldn't have to do that. But if you try to expand and you're established in one market, you go to another market, you will need to change again the ads and creatives that you run because initially you might have had different creatives. The awareness stage of the audience is also different. You need to build that up.
Interesting. Would you say people are sleeping on like other markets right now, especially let's say in context to people that are, maybe at like 1K a day to like, 100K a
Mhm.
month. Do you think they should target other markets these days?
So we did discuss this on a private call.
We
I wouldn't
did.
so Yeah, as I wouldn't say that you should go into Germany and then create a German specific store. 1K a day, like 100K a month, you're like realistically, you're still a beginner, realistically.
Mhm.
Um, so you don't want to go and hyper fixate on this one market because if you just did US only, you could grow a lot more and more and more, for example. But a very simple thing to do is just start running worldwide ads. This is what me and Ari talked about. We're seeing good success with this for the people we work with on our paid ads agency. Just running ads worldwide. Some What's going to happen? The majority of spend is going to be still the big four and US, but then you're going to be able to lower CPMs and boost ROAS because you might get like a 7 ROAS from Philippines, like someone buys your product. Philippines, from what we've seen, is like a country that you get random sales from, but again, they add to your top line. They make ads more profitable and and lower CPMs and whatnot. It just makes scaling easier.
Yeah.
With that being said, still at this stage, unless like you scale to the point where you see that, let's say hypothetically, you're doing 1.5 million a month and then 200K, let's say, is Germany. Okay, maybe it might make sense to break Germany off into its own kind of store, translate everything into German, get German creators, and do all of that. But then again, you have to weigh the pros and the cons, and probably if you're doing like 1.5 million a month, it doesn't make sense to just hire an entire team of Germans in Germany per
Yeah.
se. Um, but yeah, I mean, it would depend on where the bottleneck is. But if you do see a market that's predominantly like selling a lot more than like your main market or selling higher than other markets, then I believe it makes sense to scale into that.
And then let me ask you this: when it comes to email marketing strategy, when is a good time to start thinking about that? Like, at what level?
Yeah, I would say under 30K a month, your leverage is acquisition. You don't need you have nothing to retain, so retention to you is irrelevant. Um, when you break that 30K a month and you're there consistently, I would say set up email flows. 30 to 70K a month, set up email flows. 70K plus, I would say you can hire an agency to do emails for you. If you wish to set up everything yourself, you can do that, because obviously I'm an agency owner. I'll tell you to hire an agency. But no, realistically, like from most of the brand owners that have spoken to, emails is typically the thing they outsource the most. Second to ads, and typically the brands that outsource ads are those who are where the founder or the team is very product focused, and their product was so good, or maybe like they had someone who helped out with marketing initially, but marketing is their bottleneck, for example. But in general, like if you have good experience with media buying and paid ads, which I assume the majority of people here already have, then it would make sense to either outsource emails, hire a freelancer for it, hire an agency, and set at least up the flows. Yeah, I mean 70K a month plus email campaigns, 12 email campaigns a month for sure should be the gold standard. Because through those, even if you make like 10K a month extra, that 10K a month is extremely profitable. If let's say you sell a product hypothetically for $100, your product costs $30, of that 10K, you're really gonna have 7K in profit. You pay off Klaviyo, maybe like you pay them what? Roughly we can estimate like you would pay them maybe like $600. That's an
They're taxing
overestimation.
these days. They
Yeah,
charge a
yeah,
lot.
they are taxing now. Yeah. But still, like if you have a 30,000 people email, 35 to 40,000 people email us, you're gonna pay $600. So like you're left with what is it, 6.4K in top line revenue. This 6.4K could go to either someone's salary to help, I don't know, back with media buying, or like, if you want to have some money that you can have for yourself to maybe like live and rent a nicer apartment, uh, pay for a lease on a car or whatever, or just invest, you have that cash there. It is again like a very good thing to do for your cash flow at that level. Again, the reason why I say like 50 to 70K is when you should start focusing on it more, because before that, all your leverage is paid ads. If you, let's say hypothetically, paid someone even as little as 1K to set up email marketing, your ROI from that max after Klaviyo fees and like this 1K setup fee and taking off your price of the product. If you do 30K a month, it's probably gonna be like maybe around $1,000 month one, and then like 2.5K month two, three, four, five. That $1,000 is probably gonna have a lot more leverage if when invested into media buying.
Yeah, or
Um,
content.
yeah, media buying, content, paid ads, because like you have nothing. Like you still need to find product market fit, and you need to build sustainability around that. Or it might make more sense for you to learn how to hire a team. Because a lot of people burn out when they're just solo founders and they run everything solo. For some people it works, for some it doesn't. I would rather work with a team than just have one, be by myself to run everything.
That's so true. And I've seen that time and time again. Like people try to like over optimize when they're doing like 10K a month or something, where in reality, like you need to just be cranking acquisition, whether it's meta ads
Yeah,
or like creators. Super valid way to grow. But super
yeah,
interesting. I mean, that's the truth. I've also heard other people say, I'm glad you mentioned like the 12 campaigns a month, because I've heard someone say, I think it was Ty Lopez, but he's like, yeah, your email list is like your ATM, like your personal ATM. Like when you need to you need to take out some money, like you take it out of your email list, like send out some emails. What do you think are some, like, how would you send out 12 emails a month minimum, as you said? Like what kind of emails would you do in that case?
yeah. Going back to copywriting research, think of your customer. So I can try to pull out a free form and maybe draw this out for you all, just so it's easier to visualize and easier for everyone to see and understand. Is everything going to be good on recording if I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. So really, if we look at your email list, for example, we have two buckets of people. We have your buyers, we have your non-buyers. non-buyers. So first things first, like I'm just dividing this up because if you have an email list, there's going to be people who are buyers, who are non-buyers. Out of these, there's two other buckets that this kind of falls under. I'll just do this here and make it a different color if I can. You have engaged people and then unengaged.
Is this
So
A Myra board?
this is free form. If you have a
Oh,
Mac or an iPhone or iPad, you have this for free. Yeah, this is an app they made. So you have these kind of like two segments, right? For example, for buyers, if we have buyers, okay, how can we get these how can we communicate to these people to get them to buy more? Okay, are there any products we can upsell, right? Are there any other products that are going to make their life easier, for example? This is just like a general one. Some of these are kind of can be sent to both, but like what could make their life easier? For non-buyers, again, you can look through Facebook comments or your TikTok comments, answer objections, frequently asked questions, showcase testimonials. So for example, with this alone, we've gotten 5 emails, and this is just like the baseline. We haven't even looked at the angles, how we can frame and position the product yet, right? Then we have engaged and unengaged. Really here, what I'll be focused on is the people who are unengaged, so we can get them back to being engaged. Because your email list, the engaged people, is kind of like your retargeting segment via emails. These are people who open your emails, click them. Engaged people are, they're not really opening your stuff. Sometimes you can call them out straight up. For example, I have this document that I created yesterday because I did a video on Klaviyo's price increase. So for example, here I have a re-engagement email example. These were just like some quick ones. But for example, hey name, I saw you haven't opened any of our emails in a long time. I wanted to check in if you wanted to receive our offers because we're going to do a big sale next month. That's why you don't want to miss this. If you want to keep receiving emails, click here. Or something like this. In 6 hours, you'll be deleted from our email list. You won't be able to receive our emails ever again. If you still want to receive emails from us, click here. These are two very, very simple email examples, but right now we have like 7 emails out of the 12 already. This is just a core principle on how we can look at the audience and create the emails around the audience. The other thing is angles. So again, for example, I'll open up Figma and show you a couple of campaigns that I've saved in a swipe file. Some of these are ours, some of these are not ours. One of which I really like to showcase because people don't use this at all is the 5 reasons why email. This is completely ripped off like the advertorials do very well on Meta, 5 reasons why like listicles. But again, that's why I said in copywriting, get good examples from what to get inspired from. Because sometimes you can just take an idea and make it work.
True.
Here, there is an element that will load in a second. There you go. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, we have the 5 reasons why wear Kanzuri shoes. The ultimate confidence booster, super comfortable and breathable, built for every occasion, worn by celebrities, 1,100 happy customers. And then there's like a product block. This email is just going to be more interesting. The 5 reasons why, that's an interesting email, interesting angle to showcase. Then what you can do, you can go to Amazon.com. We'll look at, again, evil goods. We'll look at evil goods.
I think they recently got taken down on Amazon.
Yeah. They had, by the way, they had a huge issue with. They got this taken care of with people like getting in their buy box. But yeah, I mean, right now they're in TikTok Shop and we're selling via their site. But via Amazon, for example, what you can do, you can go here, go to any of the like your product or competitor's product, and go under reviews. Here you can see, for example, the keywords that people mention: moisturizing, skin softness, product quality, scent, greasiness. I created this email also by looking at Kanzuri shoes, looking at the most featured words in the reviews. So for example, people talked about how this boosts their confidence, how they're comfortable and breathable. This is just across all the shoes that I was looking at. People just want this. built for every occasion. This is not so much from their testimonials, but just from like their product catalog. And yeah, here, when you look at the reviews, and ideally you want to get as many reviews as possible, here you can see the exact words people use. Leaves my skin feeling nourished and hydrated. Keeps my face moisturized throughout the day. Solid hydration, moisturize as well. So, for example, like leaves my skin feeling nourished and hydrated. This can be a subject, not a subject line, but a headline for an email that can be created. Another way to do this, I'll quickly pull up
It's
Figma as
crazy
well,
how relevant
is
this
just
is also to making ads. Like that's some gold.
this is the next thing I'll show to you. When you have an ad that works well, you can recreate it into an email. So, for example, this is from a video I did. I just have these resources ready. This again was, I think, 2021. This ad, these types of ads, like our graphic designers on vacation, these were doing pretty well. They were eye-catching, they were something that stood out, and that's why they worked. Here, this was like an email we created. This was one of the best performing emails in December, around the New Year's sale. New Year's sale made sense. New Year's sale, people on vacation. This was made by a designer, but it still looks ugly. So like when you open it, like you second guess before closing the email, so you're more likely to look at it. Then for Evil Goods, I found this ad. If I go into, I'll quickly pull up Foreplay and I'll show you which ad I found. This is in a video where I designed this email live. You can go through ads of your competitors, of your industry, and even different industries. You don't even have to stick within your industry too. But you can find ads that do well. So for example, you can go on Foreplay, or I don't know, Atria, whatever you use, or even Facebook Ads Manager, and look for ads that have been ran for, I would say, more than 25 days in general. And you can see the ads that worked well for other people, the ads that are interesting. And then turn that ad into an email. You can also look at your own ads that perform well and recreate that idea into an email. Here, this was the ad that I inspired from when creating this email itself. Skincare you can eat. It's just like the headline, and then mainly like the arrows that feature some of the benefits. And this was like a rough example on what we created.
Fire.
I'm not a graphic designer. Our graphic designers would do a better job at this. But again, this is something I whipped up in like 15 minutes, right? which shows you like how easy this really is.
Yeah, it's just about like, damn, it's really about that fundamental. Because yeah, the design, it makes it look better just because the content of it is so good. Like the copywriting and the concept, that's some gold. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, here, like even if we look at the copy, to make the email more interesting, like the angle is like, again, we try to think in angles. Skincare you can eat, and then it talks about stop poisoning the biggest organ on your body with toxic moisturizers that can include petroleum, parabens. I mispronounced this word again. YouTube video doesn't matter. This email doesn't actually go out. Menthol and other toxic shit. Choose 100% natural alternative beef tallow. It closely resembles human sebum, making it one of the most effective moisturizers. Then it features like the ingredients, right? But again, this makes the content more interesting. It's not just like, hey, moisturize your skin. Hey, this is a sale. Hey, this is a sale. Hey, this is a sale. We're able to take these different ideas, tie them into an email, build a compelling argument, and show proof for that argument, and create something that can be sent out. And for example, for Evil Goods, every month we sit down and create like email ideas that make sense. We look at TikToks that performed well and help them generate sales. So for example, again, like you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be like the super genius person who thinks of the ideas on your own. There is research and research papers we look into that create an argument for why certain ingredients are bad for your body and why this is a better alternative. But there are hooks that work well on static ads, video ads, and you can mix your own ideas with emails
Love that.
and turn them into emails. Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, I always tell people there's a chat in here in the community. There's like a research section. I'll show you because maybe you can't see it, but it's like breakout TikToks. And I love this section. I think people sleep on it because like there's some crazy, crazy good hooks from these, or just ideas in general from like really high converting. Like this one was so funny. It's like if it smells like fish and looks like mayo, it's like a, so gross, but it's like a
I saw that.
probiotic. Yeah, like that's such a good hook, and it sold like almost a quarter million organically. Like that's insane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. And you don't even need to look at your direct competition too. You can look at other types of brands, other types of ads. I'll try to find one um, that we tested within an email header, and it performed very well, not just for one client, but for a couple of clients. It was a simple way to visualize the price and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, like the reason why I like to look at ads, I like to look at what works outside of email, because if you look at emails, generally speaking, they're very similar. Um, so this is just like really email copywriting is finding the angle and stuff that people would like to read. Design is visualizing what you're saying, right? That's how those two get married together.
Mm. Wow, that's some gold, man. I mean, I love how applicable this is just to like everything, including even landing page design. Because I mean, especially if it can all be so congruent, then that's a great recipe right there. So I'm curious then. So that's all the emails you would send. What split do you typically see between campaign revenue and flow revenue? Like, is flow where most of the money is made?
In a lot of the cases, flows are where most of the money is made. Most of the profit, on the other hand, is made via campaigns.
Mm,
Um, the biggest differentiator, like for example, we have had brands that maybe do like 30K a month from flows and then 60K a month from campaigns. It depends on the customer's buying cycle. We, for example, on the other hand, had a client who sells gaming PCs. No matter what you do in the email and how clever you are, you're not gonna get someone to just spend another 3K if they spend 3K or they spent 1K, doesn't matter.
hmm
On another gaming PC if they bought one last month. Realistically, there's gonna be a window for when they want to buy in like maybe like a year if they're a super hyper enthusiast. 2 years.
True.
Realistically, like 3 to 5 years when you're gonna see people start to buy again. Um, except if it's like if that would be B2B, for example. So so yeah. On the other hand, clothing, like for example, evil goods, consumables, they're always going to outperform and they're gonna have more sales via campaigns, especially if they're good quality. A
Mm,
huge mistake I see brands make and e-commerce owners make is they believe that if they have a low returning customer rate, email marketing and SMS marketing is going to fix that. Email marketing is just a vehicle of retention, but the fundamentals of the product quality, having a great and building a brand, having a having great packaging, product needing to be, of quality. Those are fundamentals that you need to have in order for retention to be successful.
damn. Yeah, and I guess that's probably one of the hardest parts to get to. Um, but I guess you can learn a lot from what the customers tell you in order to improve products. So I'm curious, like from just your experience as an agency owner, because I think that's one of the coolest things about running an agency is like all these different case studies that you get to see. What are some ways that people have transitioned from like just shitty testing and like scaling to what you would consider a brand? Like what has that process looked like from your point of view?
So as I said, there's two types of transition periods. I'll start with type A. People just stop the dropshipping stores, start to build the brand, and go all in on it. The issue where a lot of them fall off is they don't see immediate results and they say, fuck it, I'm going to go back to dropshipping. It was a lot easier, blah, blah, blah. They don't have the vision and they cannot commit to one thing. Arie, for example, like you've also like worked with, like you also have an agency for Meta, and media buying, paid media. For the people who start out as an agency, you might go 3 months with making no money. Then you might get one client. Maybe that client leaves, then you get two clients. One of them leaves, and you have this fluctuation until you stabilize and like, you know, you have a stable income. And that might not happen in 1 month. That typically happens over like a 6-month period. On the flip side, people who start, you know, who have been successful at dropshipping, let's say for a while, they try to go into a brand, they don't see it pop off day one. It's very challenging for them to make it really work. So I would say like in that case, I think it's good for those who can handle just the pressure and be very consistent with it. For this, I wouldn't necessarily suggest people to just out of nowhere create a custom product, make molds and order inventory, because that's going to be expensive. Like a lot of our clients who have brands, they ship from China. They manufacture and ship from China. It's like they can get 7-day shipping. People are still happy. They can get custom products too. But what I believe right now makes a lot more sense. Finding a product that sells well and that you believe is still going to sell well 10 years down the line, so it's not like a completely trendy product. Starting step by step. Initially, if you're doing like even like 1, 2, 3K a day, those customers that buy from you, like if you don't have the highest quality of a product, you're not necessarily tarnishing your brand name by that. If you see that ideally that you're dropshipping, you maybe don't have the best product yet, but people are still happy and they're ready to come back and buy more, great. You've got something going there. What are the next steps? First, like it makes sense to call the customers. Call the customers, see what the return rates are on your end, see whether you're profitable or not, what's your contribution margin, understand what other products you can add to the site. Then firstly, just focus on the customer experience. Okay, can we maybe go via portless, ship products to portless, have them ship them out? Do I maybe have an agent that can order products to their warehouse, ship them out? Can I get custom packaging, slip-ins? How much is that going to cost? Do I need to increase the price? Does it still work for us? And then really what I believe in from my perspective is you don't just want to run. Initially, it makes sense to just run maybe one or a few products, but eventually you want to build a catalog of products. As the founder of I think it was the founder, one of the founders of Ridge said, last year, quote unquote, last year we sold 5 million worth of rings. These are people we sold rings to that wouldn't have, you know, bought wallets otherwise. So they added 5 million revenue to the store. If you maybe are selling, like, let's say one of that peel off lipstick or something like that, you can maybe then go into other beauty products, like color changing foundations or different skincare products or different beauty products. That's going to unlock more revenue for you eventually. But yeah, I mean, where I am, bro just said my product. But where I'm going with this is that you can just take a dropshipping product that works well, that you're seeing that, okay, this can be selling within 10 years, brand it, build around it, ensure you have a strong supply chain, understand these processes and make sure they work well before just going all out, ordering a ton of inventory and everything. And then later down the line, if you're doing, I would say, like, you know, you've been doing 1 million a month, okay, it doesn't make sense to create a custom product itself. Is going to give me a competitive advantage. Because as I said earlier, my vision of a brand does not mean custom product, does not mean logo. It means it basically is your reputation. Do you have a good reputation or not? Do you have a good customer support team? Do they respond on time? Are customers happy? You can implement NPS scores, Net Promoter Score. This is something that larger brands use. Maybe if you use a software, you have seen like this pop-up show up, like how likely are you to recommend this product to a friend from like 1 to 10? 1 to 6, they're basically demoters. 7, 8, that's neutrals. Sorry, 7, 8 is neutrals. 9, 10 are promoters. I think if I'm not mistaken, Apple has like an NPS score of like 60 something. which is extremely high, it means that they have a lot more promoters than demoters. And the same thing you can measure for your brand. For example, for reference, like a regular business is typically around like 15 to 20, and Apple's at like 62. If you can get to like, being like 25, 30, you're gonna do better. If you were to run this for for like a dropshipping store that's kind of scammy on the end, you're probably gonna have a negative NPS. So you can just like even have it as a baseline, or like even if your dropshipping store has a good NPS score and you believe this product is still going to be around 10 years from now, it makes sense to dive deeper into the product category and scale it up and brand it out.
Yeah, and improve it and whatnot. Yeah, I like that
Yeah,
approach
yeah,
too. I think that's great. Well, dude, I mean, we covered a lot of ground. I think, there's a couple more things that I'd like to ask you more so on just the general entrepreneurship side of things. One of them being, how do you overcome challenges and like downtimes? Because everybody experiences it. I think some people make it seem like they don't experience it, or I don't know. Some people think that some entrepreneurs like never experience like struggle, but how do you overcome struggle?
Good question. I think it comes from to me, when I'm struggling, I've seen a pattern. I've seen a pattern where it comes from me not improving myself, my skills, me not reflecting, and me not giving myself the downtime. I started to journal. Like I created this, I'll show this from January. I have like this, I could show from last year, this year. I was vacationing, like these X's, like I have 3 habits I track. These X's are stuff I haven't done. I was traveling there, so pardon me. But I just track down something that I remember of a single day. I track like things I need to do and like some goals I have for the month. And I journal, generally speaking, like I have some thoughts that I build out. And then what I do from like learning, I have a tool called Obsidian. I whipped out my personal knowledge base. If I can show the links, it's not huge yet, but I have like these notes of ideas that I have understood. Um,
Damn.
for example, we can take a random one. Let's say one that is dormant ideas. You probably had an aha moment in the shower of nowhere genius idea pops up and solves the difficult problem you have. But how can you reveal and find these ideas more often? And why aren't these ideas clearly laid out in our minds for us? I call them dormant ideas. Every day we sponge up new information. These ideas that are relevant, useful to us right now, stay top of mind in your consciousness. Other ideas that aren't as relevant are stored in your subconscious. They're still there, just hidden from your conscious, waiting to come out. Then I had this link to like an original note. This came from my journal. And then I create another note that's linked that creates how to rediscover dormant ideas. Become obsessed over a goal, practice deep thinking through writing, change your environment. Then something else, there was a reflection. Reflection explanation is a reflection of understanding. Have you ever tried to explain an idea just to be lost for words? It's a sign you lack understanding. Why? When you're proficient in a topic, you can easily draw conclusions, comparisons. You're able to dumb it down into the core principles. If you realize you can't do that, go back to the source material and really reread again, take notes, etc., etc. I went on a little bit of a tangent, but something like this helped me a ton, and this also helped me understand why I'm making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
This reflection part I wanted to mention because if I am going through a downtime, I can reflect and understand why is this the case? What were the mistakes I made? Why I made them? What are the constraints that I'm having, both in like my personal life and in the companies, in the company? It might be like in the way that maybe you build the company. A lot of founders initially build companies fully around them when they're at the core. They try to delegate things, but really they're just like a glorified employee, which I was really last year and last 2 years, and this year finally I've gotten out of this. And like, yeah, just reflecting and understanding how much I've lost in like an opportunity cost, what I could have done differently. but like to me, it just comes down to reflection and being aware of these things and not wiping them away and not kind of like hiding them somewhere behind it, being more upfront and honest. Um, Something also that yeah, I mean, really, just thinking about it and giving myself the peace where I don't over consume content, and it helps out.
That's a huge one for sure.
Yeah.
I do find that when I'm like going through, I just don't feel like my best about something, browsing content is like one of the worst things I can do, because like that's where people show off, so it's almost like you're beating yourself up more. So I like
Yeah.
that. I think that's a really good piece of advice. And I think that's where communities are really important, in my opinion. And that's why I love having this community. It's like, you have people you can talk to, and you're not just like consuming like this, I guess, picturesque version of somebody. Like you can actually talk to real people, and real people experience struggle at every level. So I like that, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. By the way, I did buy How to Read a Book.
Oh, you got it.
I did get
Oh, got it.
after you
I'll
referenced it.
I'll give a quick summary. This book has the most retarded name ever. I don't
Yeah.
know if I can swear. If I can't,
Yeah, you're
editor
good.
will have to bleep this out. This book has the dumbest name ever. It's How to Read the Book, but I swear to God, this is the best book you'll ever read. My girlfriend's over there. She's probably vomiting by how many times I've said this name out loud. She's sick of it. But this is the best name. This book is from the 1940s. Some of the things in there are a little bit outdated, but I really, really, really preach it, because it's not about how to read the book. It's about, in my eyes, how to consume information. It gives a new perspective of information consumption, and the main idea there and the core of that book, again, going by what I just said, if you can't understand something, you can't dumb it down and explain it. Really, how I see this book is, how can you consume information and draw your own conclusions out of it? Random and controversial example. If you ask anyone their opinions on Trump, myself kind of included, a lot of people, like on left and right, they're gonna parrot, aka repeat opinions that they've heard from other people. They haven't really made up their mind and drawn conclusions on certain things. Took out Trump because it's like a prominent figure right now. It's very like, very divisive.
Yeah.
Now a lot of people in ecom might not like the tariffs. I mean, they did go
Yeah.
away, so you're good. But that's really the core of it. So whenever you consume any information in here, whenever you read a book, it's extremely powerful. Again, the first book ever I've read more than once.
Wow. Well, I'm excited. I haven't read it yet, but as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, this sounds really interesting. So I ordered it, and I'm a big fan of these type of like mental models and like foundational principles. And that's why when you
Yes.
talked about copywriting and browsing through Amazon, I'm like, oh, this is amazing, just because it's simple, but that's like,
Yes.
that's the most important shit. Not like, oh, what strategy are you using on ads? Like, what tech stack do you have? Like that stuff doesn't really matter. It's more so the foundation. So that's super cool, man.
Again, like going back to the foundational stuff, and for example, for copywriting, if someone is writing, you're probably not going to get better, and you're not going to write better copy by like getting, I don't know, like switching from writing in Notion or like creating this like super advanced strategy. But if you just understand the specific words people use, your copy is going to resonate a lot more. If you sell like a shampoo and you know that your customers don't have just, I don't know, dry hair or splitting hair, but a lot of people are complaining about frizzy hair, just like, again, talking about the frizziness and talking about that instead of other problems, you're going to, again, have this connection between the audience where they have something they think about, but they don't outright say, and they resonate with your messaging a lot more.
Bars. Okay, well, that's a great way to end it off. I mean, I will leave all your stuff in the description. I'll probably post this on YouTube, so I'll leave that there. But where can people find you if someone's just listening to this?
Email Reinis on IG and Twitter. Yeah, at email Reinis. Pretty straightforward. Or just at Reinis if you want to hit me up personally.
Clean. Okay. Well, thanks, man. I mean, you're a part of the community now, so, feel free to stop
Amazing,
by
amazing.
if you ever want to hang
Oh,
out with us.
one more thing, quick thing for people who are looking to build a brand. I'm gonna go a little bit of a tangent, but this is
Go
like for
ahead.
the people who stay until the end. Some uh, some people sometimes ask me questions about funding. The reason why I say this, like our lawyer, he manages a 30 million euro fund. He's a CEO of a couple of companies. He started like his own company that he scaled from 200K to a million in like 4 months. Um, and some people, when they start a brand or they try to expand, they try to get investors because they see it like, for example, I make a million a month. Let's say my profit after all the expense, let's say hypothetically is 100K. I would need like I would have a million. I could spend a lot more to get more inventory and to grow, etc., etc. This issue results into something. If you do give up equity for your business for funding, an issue that rises later is that you're gonna need more money eventually. So you're going to need to, again, give up more equity, so you lose the ownership of the business, basically raise money from people. What larger brands should do instead, and people who are trying to expand quicker and their bottleneck is cash flow, get e-commerce loans. Um, Sometimes you can get like be very creative with financing with a China supplier and like have them do net 60, net 90-day payment terms and negotiate those with them. But the reason why I say this is we have two clients whom we give out loans to. We don't give them out to anybody. We just give it to basically make some more money on the free cash that we have in the bank. But around Q4, we have two clients that collectively roughly take out around anywhere from 300 to half a million dollars. And for like 3 months, they have this extra cash they can use to order inventory in advance, make sure it is ready for, let's say, Q4. And they can still spend money on ads and scale the business sufficiently. Otherwise, they'd be looking at the problem of like, I can either scale from like 1 million to 3 million, but then I don't have money to buy the inventory and, I'm going to have delays. Or I can order the inventory, but then I don't have free cash flow to, scale up my ads.
Hmm.
By the way, quick pro tip, makes a lot of sense, but again, only when you're bigger. Try not to over leverage your business. Try not to use that too early. When you're bigger, this makes a lot of sense long term.
That's amazing. I love those kinds of tips. I have a consultant in my business that like is like all about tax strategy and like just optimizing financial stuff. And one of the things that he like kind of forced me to do last year, which was so dope, is start this like it's kind of complicated, but it's like a life insurance policy where you actually earn like 5% interest on your cash. So you're putting cash into it, but then that cash is freely available to take out loans against. So you can kind of be like your own
Mm,
bank, basically. And
mm,
it's like super low interest rates compared to what you could get, like 10-14% from like a different source. And it's super cool. So I'm like, damn, that was pretty clutch. That's a really cool little hack that I've
yeah,
never heard of that ever. So that was a
yeah,
good piece of
yeah.
advice there, bro. Appreciate that.
That that is nice, and this also gives you more equity to actually get
Mm,
people in who just don't provide money, but they provide experience. Like for example, if you have a store and maybe you have like a bottleneck that you think, for example, Arie could fix, and you can hit him up, pitch him. You have available equity. You can get Arie on your store
yeah,
too.
hit me up.
So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, bro. Appreciate you hopping on, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I'll be posting this later. But yeah, have a good one, man. Have a good
All right.
night.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
Take
of
care.
course. Take care. Peace out. Peace out,
All
everybody.
right. Bye bye.